Nyonji chembor zorda nyume jang zoner monam chembor nga gyabda bakar dargan zanto shirmurdo shtumba tikje janla zhomzorlo ni jarur tsengi jangamsa jawur tikji shanla yelan jime banzo jawla soranda kongje toban bawra shinjilo kongje toban bawra shinjilo kongje toban bawra shinjilo
Profound and subtle Dharma is rarely encountered in eons. Now we can hear and follow it. May we realize the Tathagata's meaning. To liberate all sentient beings, please give rise to the unsurpassed and supreme bodhicitta.
Gozirmu chochi shamba chimbola tenne me cheta terter ja chevir monum tapana shinda lachte chochi matarta lobchiksam jitis tsempune transirik sirkeverin gerjang loyang gyabchig ne bago yang tene tsempune mnyon me kijang da keverin gerjang ti irkutse satyan kara jotme pivarta jignem tar ngumbur zubr san gede hadam mala suban roa kongolong shemi changdam nyambar jaran gero tene san ji tang Wongar jarpola katsarwa tiitse drapchumba sunum tenli drapchumba sunum la tenni gozir mu jora pono tartib shanchu sangwa lochu mazapa jivsha yeno tiitse gozir mu man tartib shanchu sangwa nambra jora go tiitse na vumo gozir mu ten tartib shanchu sangwa sai nyawo yana mur karachi Mangbu nang da kong ter ter shamba da nyarje la tene kong long go shima ni ji zhang ren de tu ke nen roa nam jarbar shi ba go yang ma wong ji ten kang na ti ba dang wen me kang ji ke gi le me she pa dang ma gi le she pa dang she pa ne zon te le jimje la mat pa dang do pe lo bro yin pa dang zandar ma ba dang chama she pa dang tsir ma ba dang Papa chimbu chular kurande pa la so bi le shibi kang semchen nam ngansung go ne sang iber tong ren ger na gang ka chit gi jinin dam chad ni dele jing semchen te de la yang yang kur de thana sekur tok ba zam gi yin zam ji de shang chu seng wa sai nyang bolar kya su song na semchen te de ngansung ger na ber man ba le chur ren gero dele jing Gachit simr tsik chik be, shanchu san wa sayi nyambo la kipe tawa dang, shim tsara dang, topa dang, ngaba dang, pu dang, metok dang, ku dang, rinpo che, nasok dang, zap dong, lasok be, nyingar she na te dang maung, fkarwa chir tong shiwa chik ya tag da, la yi dewa pasam tsokpa la long, shubran gyo ro, namjik lhib sunam te tag zarni min jik ten dar tiya na, fkarwa gyar tong mambur tag da mi gyar pur, gyar de tsirib dang, le jimje ger namjign tham chid lagbar chambar gero tang wongar gerbo shangchib sangwa sa inyam boter tur samgi me kipa jot malungwi zimchir gi sto lafte ne semjim namla pambar shiba yeno dina kyod shangchib sangwa Rnamji mdo yilla zone janlar gechir jogbar shawo teni tang wongar gerbe san gelan dirta da sorap zumbab jondin de niki tigle chongra mzad mugu dang gechik shangchib sangwa chimbo ya chir tong sha chigjar namji tejing shigbi zimchir dang shinlo la ten mdo nir gechir Zhignin zanglunga semchir namla pambar zhiba go shangchib sanhwa tangin zang wongar gerbu jondin de la terka jijine tarmo jarde Tarmo jarjang shigm tsarde songo di tse shug jene gerbo chimbor devji rangrang kartani jangde kibi tarmo jarjang chomdan de landir katok sordo tsumbab chomdan de shangchu sangwa sayi nyambo kwarwa chi thukma me pane tertar molum chimbob taba yenna tartar yang semchin te tok jarar mani bar hlar yang semgya chimbor kirni tamji bar shibar tarna di jimtsin kang lagab chomdan de ki dagchig nam laftan dag soro teni chomdan de ki gerbo chimbor devji la katsara lagso dag kechig dang tarta dang 마오 사다 민조와 남라 판비저도 산주상와 사이 냐고 멈지기 직든 장원랑의 진치 람짓니 진치 람짓니 저게 아요고 짓스와 아 저거 비비비비 lam jivan lam jitni dik zorba semchir namla Tükseve çırtır cari sırki tavırnam tamrışa votini. Gerbo çimbir dejele sora laqso çondan de daqçıq Sambrando Jones, the Gerbo Chamber de la Capsara, Sansa, Nyambo, Chimipan, Tartia, Tikavarta, Chimambone, Tartala, Tikavarta, Simpson, and Jury Molum, Marzo Bana, so Jandi, the Gonobi, Simpson, and la Tixever Gumba Yanor, Laria Mao, Karachami Pina, the Tukin, Jin Chapper Mepram Zappa, what the chances of saying Yambo, Jinjit and Zaman on the Tabjaton Shire, Galatin, Simpson, Jerushipago, Gerbo Chimbo, chances of saying Yambo, Chokcho Panamni. Dear Narman, said Tomer Gervichu shadow, Martian Lembarnamna, dear Narman, Warwadan, Dinger and Gervichu shadow, Nobel Lembarnamna, dear Narman, Vegadan, Nurbanam Serkevi, Chushadow, Sixer Mavanamna, the Narman Kur, Panson, the Sojan Tapan Gervichu shadow, Jan Grande Barnamna, dear Narman, Chieme Paradan. Kalar ma ka shon chu shadow kung chu barbar namla tir narman zig murdig badan wombo kyunjin den gervi chu shadow serna jan namla tir narman ringan do pi tokto makerwer gervi chu shadow zapton wagmet shobar namla tir narman trishkum dan matpa nachin de gervi chu shadow Kung dundut rungun shepar namna tir narman de semdan ngachagdan nyumbo qazirni sem purun gervi chu shadow phama la nimgur mshepar namla tir narman de rangshon kam girno pen chevrin gervi chu shadow ruhlon da naqsir nam mir chabar namla tir narman sem nyumbo nar montir gizirnin chevrin gervi chu shadow Pama Gudan, Choni Suba, Hamadan, Payadan, Maya Namgi, Webchik, Narchu Shebar Namla, Tir Narman, Chaksin Giptrapa Sogum, Tongchusun, Gervi, Gerim Yungi Chushado, Jardia Sogi Simchin Zon Shebar Namla, Tir Narman, Sheri Susurun, Torwen Gervi Chushado, Kumchuk Sunar Kuran Debar Namla, Tir Narman, Noadan, Wombadan, Kubanam Gervi Chushado. Chula Nichu Shetni, Ranjit Nargerva Namla, Tir Narman, Gansungo, Sahtan, Matravan Gervichu Shadow, Gendin Girzel, Nam Zer Nam, Torlok Shepar Namla, Tir Narman, Kari Varta, Nyarachtan, Matravan Gervichu Shadow, Sambar Jobis Dubala, Cuba dan Gendin Namla, Nichu Shepar Namla, Tir Narman, Shursungo, Sahtan, the Taran Mangervichu Shadow, Chetsan dan Me Simpson of Chabar Namlam, Sonjik Chubur Shepe, Tir Narman, the Hun, Jan Cherter Sapa, Jenda, Rani, Terter Yamsam, Yon Gervichu Shadow, Satam Charja, Yondum Rara Namla, Tir Narman, Dapchak dan Jansen, and Jerne, Treshkum Yamsam Yon Gervichu Shadow, Janji Nur, Surgeon Mayember, Low, Per, Shopar Namla, Tir Narman, Revando talked the member Gervichu Shadow, Narger dan Ranton Chevar Namla, Tir Narman, Chango dan Rig member, Gervichu Shadow, Chamadan, Chuslon Shebar Namla, Tir Narman, Cheme Pater, Chev Gachan and Gervichu Shadow, Lober Tobar Namla, Tir Narman, Yenrang Takup the Kevin Gervichu Shadow, the Esther, Zamolanga, Semjan Namla, Ranga, Ling Yoksum Latin, Duba Magi, Shipir Narman, Jevayan, Jarton Mumber and Juro, the Ton of Dibirgon, Tambago, the Zamolanga, Semjan Namdi, Ligir Narman, Mu, Cabra Mandrave, Shantusan was high in Yambu, Tab Jarton Tamalatin, the Don Rembership, Ayano, Semjan Namjirmun, the Ranga Lenium, some new name, Tara Nyarian, it's a home, Kara, Don Shir Givarte, Tarika Mamchizo, Tina Gerbo Chimbo, Chochak, Semjan, Chongada, Yerkam de Chongada, Semjan Namji, Xian de Fleur Mergic Berfiago, Semjan Nam, Semjan de Fleur Mergic Berfiago, Gerbo Chimbo Ji, Terkut Tourje, Semba Chi, Odonim, Chema, Jirjan, Shak Tarmojan, Raganes, Son, Say Nyambur Monum Gimdole, Zamalanga Semjan Namji, Lerno Tambi Legative, Jibago.
There's quite a lot of Tibetan here. We have to cover this much today, you know. Just reciting it will take over 10 minutes. If I try to explain it now, I'm not sure how to go about it. Now, let's start looking at the original vows of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva Sutra. This profound sutra of Ksitigarbha, as we have discussed earlier, we have already talked about it in considerable detail. Bright Eye's beloved mother tragically passed away, leaving her utterly devastated and profoundly heartbroken. In her immense sorrow, an enlightened Arhat compassionately explained to her in great detail some of the intricate and profound karmic causes and effects stemming from her numerous past lives, including that after some time, her mother was actually reborn into her very own family. In the end, her mother was reborn into the household of her own servant girl there. Then, within 3 short days, he was able to speak clearly about the experience. She was absolutely certain that this was her real mother indeed. But it was very pitiful. He was only 13 years old at that particular time. After that, he was destined to fall into the evil realms again. Moreover, he was reborn into a very lowly caste. After witnessing all of this, Bright Eyes, deeply moved, made a solemn vow. She vowed that her mother would be freed from the 3 evil destinies, and that all sentient beings would be free from the 3 evil destinies. She made an extremely vast vow for the benefit of all sentient beings throughout the 6 realms of samsara. So regarding this particular initial vow, perhaps her own beloved mother was the focal point that motivated her greatly at that time. At the very beginning, Bright Eyes was especially longing for her own mother, but later on, her mother had already been reborn as a lowly being. At that time, her vow was not just for her own mother alone. She included all sentient beings in her vow. She wished that none of them would fall into the evil destinies and that they would all attain liberation. She generated such a heartfelt bodhicitta aspiration. So in our own daily lives as well, we should strive to cultivate this aspiration. Sometimes, for example, when our loved ones truly pass away, when our parents indeed pass away, we may feel really and truly heartbroken at these very difficult times. But at that moment, just simply use them as your main focal point. And in the process of generating your aspiration, you shouldn't think, oh, I just love my own mother and wish for only her to attain liberation. You shouldn't think that way. Taking my mother as the main focus. Buddhist scriptures and treatises mention this approach. Taking my parents as the main focus, or taking the relatives and friends who have been kind to me as the main focus. Wishing for all sentient beings to truly attain complete liberation. Making such profound aspirations is incredibly important. Earlier, she deeply thought of these countless sentient beings, all the beings in the hell-hungry ghost and animal realms, wishing that they all attain the state of Buddhahood. And she made such a vow. Of course, here, the beings of the 3 lower realms, but in fact, I think she should aspire for all sentient beings of the 6 realms, mainly focusing on the beings of the 3 lower realms among the 6 realms, or all sentient beings of the 6 realms with her mother as the main focus. She wished for all of them to be free from suffering and attain happiness. This was her aspiration. So making such aspirations is truly very important. Because of the power of her aspiration at that time, her mother also attained complete liberation from all suffering. The immense merit of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's realization and spiritual attainment also continuously kept increasing. So, this accumulation of merit is indeed very important and holds great significance. After she had solemnly made this profound vow, and after articulating her heartfelt aspiration, she distinctly heard the venerable pure lotus-eyed Tathagata speak to Bright Eyes. At that very moment, she perceived and comprehended all the words with clarity and completeness. It was at that significant time that the pure lotus-eyed Tathagata then uttered these words. The Buddha told Bright Eyes, "You are truly greatly compassionate and merciful indeed. You must have an especially great heart of compassion, and you are able to make such a truly great vow for your mother." This act of making vows is indeed very, very important. Sometimes it happens our vows may be simply for our own overall health, longevity, good looks, and personal safety. These particular kinds of vows are not necessarily very extraordinary or unique, although they are indeed wholesome aspirations. That's certainly one kind. But the truly best and most virtuous aspirations at the beginning, we might make them in a somewhat contrived way initially, but gradually people can get used to it in their hearts naturally over time. Then, little by little, when we make vows sincerely with genuine intention, we will think of all sentient beings. Indeed, at the very beginning, you will only think of yourself. But gradually, little by little, this is mistaken view. I should make vows for the sake of all sentient beings. Because of making vows in this way, since you have made such a great vow, so now, when I look at your mother, after 13 years have passed, after she finally turns 13, she will soon leave this world. Her natural lifespan cannot be extended any further at all. She will still, at the young and tender age of 13, unfortunately die. After she passes away, what will she then be reborn as? A Brahmin. Previously, she was reborn into a much lower caste, a very humble caste indeed. Now, it is prophesied that she will be reborn as a noble Brahmin of high caste. Her lifespan will also extend for a full 100 years, a truly remarkable duration. After the completion of this earthly life, she will be joyfully reborn into the serene and peaceful land of no sorrow, a truly pure and sacred Buddha land. At that particular time, her lifespan will be truly countless kalpas, indeed immeasurable and extraordinarily, remarkably long. After that, she will attain Buddhahood and widely deliver sentient beings among humans and gods, as numerous as the sands of the Ganges River. You see, The vows and meritorious deeds made by Bright Eyes for her still have a tremendous effect, lasting influence. On one hand, one aspect I think it is because she generated the great immense power of the bodhicitta vow through her pure intention at that time. In the Bodhicaryavatara it is also said, bodhicitta is like the fire at the end of an eon. In an instant it can destroy all heavy negative karma. Bodhicitta is like the fire at the end of a kalpa. In just an instant, single instant, all previous negative karma is completely burned away without a trace, any mark. You see, when her mother was alive, still living in life, she killed so many sentient beings. So many fish, turtles, and others were killed by her. She also ate a lot of fish roe and such. Moreover, she held wrong views, which was very serious. But because Bright Eyes profoundly generated bodhicitta with the immense power of this sacred blessing, her beloved mother's karmic obstacles were completely and utterly eliminated. So the merit of bodhicitta is truly immense. A couple of days ago, I also mentioned that bodhicitta should, no matter whether it's for this life or for future lives, indeed, it is truly the only thing that can genuinely be called a complete panacea. Actually, this is also mentioned in the Sutra of the Heap of Jewels. Bodhicitta is supreme, like the Agadha medicine. Agadha medicine is a miraculous remedy from India, a medicine that can cure 100 diseases. It can eliminate all illnesses and bring all happiness. It can remove all kinds of sicknesses and also bestow every kind of happiness. This is how I see it. In this very life of ours, if we truly have bodhicitta in our mind stream, that person will definitely be very happy. Because our suffering, for the most part, probably 99% of it, is suffering caused by selfishness, right? If we have bodhicitta in our mind stream, that person will definitely be cheerful and happy. They won't cry and they won't feel sad, because we rarely cry for the sake of sentient beings. So both in this life and in future lives, one will be very happy, genuinely happy, completely blessed. That's one aspect, key aspect. On the other hand, other side, if we cultivate the precious bodhicitta and genuinely make such profound aspirations and heartfelt prayers, in fact, we can benefit countless sentient beings. Moreover, not only is the merit of generating bodhicitta oneself immense, but if others generate bodhicitta toward you, there is also such great and significant merit in this. Everyone should truly understand this important point. If we sincerely perform rituals to help others pass on to the next life, or if we do Buddhist practices for others, can they actually receive benefit from it? They will definitely receive benefit 100%. As for the extent of the benefit regarding this, of course there are different explanations in various sutras and treatises, but there is definitely benefit to be gained. Otherwise, if Bright Eyes generated bodhicitta, why would her mother have received such an extraordinary and supreme result? This is something that should also be clear and understood. Here, it is mentioned that after she had made her profound aspiration, she would subsequently receive such a significant result. The Buddha, with his infinite wisdom and compassion, then addressed the Venerable Concentration Mastery King Bodhisattva, because in the beginning, Concentration Mastery King Bodhisattva asked why Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva was so remarkable. At the very start, among all those present, he then stood up and asked this question. So the Buddha spoke to Concentration Mastery King Bodhisattva in this way. At this time, the Arhat who guided Bright Eyes, he was previously called Fudu, right? It should be the Arhat who guided Bright Eyes. What is the Arhat's name? Was there a name mentioned earlier? Is he called Fudu, or is he the one who saves Bright Eyes? How was it explained earlier? It seems that when I was translating, it was about relying on merit and virtue to save sentient beings. But I suppose it can also be said this way, right? This Arhat who saves Bright Eyes, he is now inexhaustible intention Bodhisattva. Bright Eyes' devoted mother is truly the revered and compassionate Bodhisattva of liberation. Bright Eyes herself is now the Bodhisattva of Ksitigarbha. So in the distant past, she showed such compassion and mercy. She made as many vows as the sands of the Ganges River, vowing to liberate countless sentient beings. When we make vows, we might think making a vow once or twice is enough. But actually, in reality, that's not how it truly ought to be. The Buddha also further stated in various different sacred texts and sutras. For example, in the Fortunate Aeon Sutra, he made vows in front of a certain Tathagata. In the Sutra of the Heap of Jewels, it is said that the Buddha made solemn vows in front of another ancient Tathagata. This profoundly includes our own Shakyamuni Buddha as well. In various different sutras, he made many distinct vows, and he said, "This was my very first vow." Later, Maudgalyayana asked the Buddha at that particular time, "So, in front of which Buddha did you actually make your very first vow?" At one moment, you say you made your very first vow in front of this Buddha, and at another moment you say you made your very first vow in front of that Buddha. So, in the very end, in front of which particular Buddha did you make your solemn vow? The Buddha thoughtfully replied, "I made many different vows for the sake of various sentient beings. There are indeed many profound and significant meanings within this." The Buddha manifested various different vows in front of different sentient beings. In fact, this is indeed very meaningful. Therefore, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, in front of different sentient beings, or you could say in front of different Tathagatas, made many vows, countless as Ganges sands, to liberate sentient beings. We too should also make vows every day. No matter where we are indeed, even if you embark on a spiritual pilgrimage, no matter where your journey takes you, when you encounter a sacred and serene Buddha statue, or meet a great monk or virtuous teacher, you should truly have your very own personal vow. In this particular way, as time gradually goes on, slowly, a small stream eventually becomes a flowing river, and the river then becomes a vast ocean. It will naturally develop in precisely this manner. So this is important and holds immense significance. This is precisely what the enlightened Buddha taught. The compassionate Buddha continued to speak with great wisdom to the revered concentration mastery King Bodhisattva, stating that in the distant future, if there are any devoted men or virtuous women in the world who do not practice virtuous deeds and have no faith, and who are deeply entrenched in wrong views, who commit evil deeds and do all kinds of bad things every day, who do not even believe in cause and effect, nor in virtuous actions, who do not believe in cause and effect, nor in the three jewels, and who frequently engage in sexual misconduct, tell lies, sow discord and use harsh speech, and who slander the Mahayana teachings, this is especially evil. Such people are truly capable of committing any kind of evil. Among us in this world, even among Buddhists, such a person is truly terrifying. Beings with such heavy negative karma would ordinarily be certain to fall into hell, hungry ghost, or animal realms, the three lower realms. However, if they encounter a truly virtuous teacher, and this virtuous teacher encourages them to take refuge in Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva for the briefest moment, even if just for a short time, in the snap of a finger, as everyone knows, within a brief period. Here, in the snap of a finger means a short time. Such short time, even someone has committed much evil if they are encouraged to recite the name of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. And if you take refuge in Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, the merit is immense. If they encounter a virtuous teacher, and this virtuous teacher earnestly encourages them, if this person, even for just a brief moment, takes refuge in Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva faithfully, then all such sentient beings will immediately be liberated from the retribution of the three evil realms. This sentient being will definitely attain complete liberation from the three evil paths. This is truly very important. So sometimes, when it is absolutely necessary, we give the Ksitigarbha Sutra to others. Even if they hold wrong views, just let them read it once. Or encourage them to take refuge in Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. They may not be able to take refuge for a long time, but if they take refuge even for a brief moment, the merit is still very great indeed, extraordinarily powerful. I once read in the Venerable The Records of Efficacy of Ksitigarbha Image, a truly profound and inspiring text about a person from the Song dynasty. This person from the Song dynasty later on. There was a certain person who lived indeed many years ago. After he died, he arrived at the magnificent court of the king of the intermediate state. When his good deeds and his bad deeds were being thoroughly examined and carefully scrutinized, he was asked whether he had done any good deeds. He replied, when I was alive, I recited the name of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva and so on. At that time, the king of the intermediate state also told him, "If you have accumulated such great merit, you may return if you wish. Do you truly want to go back to the human world? Your life may..." He then asked the Yama attendants nearby, "Has his lifespan ended?" "No, not ended. If your life has not ended, you can return to the human world." Then the king of the intermediate state said, "Before you return to the human world, do you want to take a look at hell?" The man clearly said, "I would like to see it, please." Just like in some descriptive dakinis' travelogues of very hell indeed, he then went to see many things. I don't remember very clearly, but whatever he saw, first he saw the extremely large, incredibly hot, burning hells, where sentient beings experienced endless suffering. In there, his grandfather and ancestors whom he had known before, as well as some other acquaintances, were also there experiencing it without even a moment of happiness. Then, after passing through one agonizing hell upon intensely burning beds, some suffering monks were also enduring great pain. Why were these monks in pain? Because during their lifetimes, they did not properly listen, contemplate, or practice the teachings. They were always actively seeking fame and considerable profit, truly enjoying the vast wealth of the monastic community. There was indeed a group like this. Then, in another place, it looked quite special indeed and was aptly named the Green House. In this remarkable place, the surrounding natural environment was also exceptionally beautiful and truly captivating, with jeweled trees, flowers and fruits, and jeweled banners. All of these were present. It wasn't really particularly painful within this place at all, indeed. Why is that? It was because they had made offerings to Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, but they truly lacked faith, genuine faith. People like this, unfortunately, reside in such a place. There was yet another place. There was a magnificent jeweled hall, also known as the Hall of Merit. In that expansive place there were also countless beings, their numbers truly immense, reaching into the thousands and even tens of thousands. Who were these beings? In fact, they had committed serious negative karma. Through the blessings of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, they were prevented from falling into the hell-hungry ghost or animal realms. They would remain there until the appearance of Maitreya Buddha. For the time being, they would stay in this place. Because at that time, in front of Shakyamuni Buddha, he had already made a vow not to let them fall into the lower realms, but their karmic obstacles were quite severe and deeply ingrained, so he could only create such a specific and protective place for them. This person, having witnessed everything, saw all these different places, and later he was utterly terrified and deeply frightened by the profound implications. He returned to the human world. Then he shared everything he had seen and heard with great detail and profound understanding. Therefore, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva truly and profoundly possesses an immense and inconceivable merit and a boundless and benevolent blessing power. Therefore, some of us indeed in this group, with just a snap of the fingers, can have others recite the name of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva or take refuge in Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. These actions are very meaningful. As for those sentient beings in the hell realms that were just mentioned, how exactly can they possibly attain true liberation? All the beings in hell say, as long as we recite the name of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, we can leave this suffering behind. So it may seem to us that simply reciting the name of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva is very simple and nothing special. But in reality, the law of cause and effect is truly inconceivable. You could say, look here, evil people with guidance by virtuous teacher in short time, if they take refuge in Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, not fall into the three lower realms. Perhaps they will obtain the blessings of rebirth as a human or a god. Or perhaps, as mentioned earlier, in that blessed abode, they will not fall into hell. In one of the worlds of the intermediate state, the karmic power of sentient beings is truly inconceivable. It can possess such qualities. Sometimes the concepts that sentient beings have, the concept of time and the concept of space, are really extremely narrow indeed compared to what we truly perceive. The scope and capacity that our discriminating mind can actually accommodate is very, very limited. The entire world that our eyes can truly see is also extremely small. We all know that certain things like light, for example, in our modern world nowadays, when we use advanced machines to capture them, what we can see with the naked eye is extremely, extremely limited. This includes ultraviolet and infrared rays, as well as all the various components of visible light. What the human eye actually perceives is just a tiny fraction. So we cannot, just as the Buddha also said, didn't the King of Samadhi Sutra mention that the eyes, ears and nose are not reliable measures, dependable indicators? Our eyes, ears, nose, tongue and body are not true measures of reality. Just because we can't imagine something or we can't see it, we shouldn't assume that it is unreasonable. In fact, many people in the world today have a certain flaw. What flaw is that? When it comes to certain specific things in religion, if they simply can't accept them, they readily call it mere superstition. But when it comes to modern science, however, even though they also can't accept it themselves and can't imagine it either, at that point they don't call it superstition. So sometimes we humans may be somewhat prejudiced against religion, or against Buddhism in particular. For example, when we talk about the vastness of astronomy or about countless kalpas, countless stars and planets, at times like this they often feel that Even though I can't imagine it, it's inconceivable. I still don't say that it might not be true still. When we ask how many billions of years old is our planet Earth now, it is widely accepted to be over 4 billion years old, with some scientific estimates suggesting it could be as ancient as 5 billion years. What is its lifespan? How long is it? Even though I can't really grasp what 100 million years is, or what that's like. But at this point, science says so it must be right. But when Buddhism talks about the 3,000 great thousand worlds and countless kalpas, is this really true, or is it just superstition? Having this kind of idea is actually a result of not being exposed to religion from a young age, tender age. Another thing is significant matter. Some of the sayings from folk traditions, traditional customs, popular beliefs, they don't represent religion itself. But people think these are religious teachings. They mix in various sorts of traditional folk beliefs, which are not formally recognized at all within Buddhism, and consider these to be part of our religion. Actually, these particular things should be carefully and thoroughly analyzed. If we do not properly analyze them, some people may genuinely feel that they are completely unreasonable. In fact, for those of us who diligently study Buddhism, we should not only understand the specialized courses and profound content of Buddhism, but also be acutely aware of the various wrong views and deceptive false teachings that unfortunately exist in the wider world. This is something we must understand. If we don't, we won't even know how to respond. For them, they genuinely believe this. If they really believe this, then we should also explain it to them properly. Some people misunderstand simply because they don't understand. It's not that they truly hold views of eternalism or nihilism. So sometimes, including what was just recently mentioned about the great Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, relying on a spiritual teacher for guidance is very important. In fact, indeed, each of us can be a spiritual teacher. You can help those with wrong views, and if you can help them take refuge in Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva in an instant, then you become a spiritual teacher yourself. You possess qualities of Dharma, like the good spiritual friend in the platform Sutra, so you become a true spiritual teacher. This is important, and everyone should make this aspiration. In the future, each of us should help one or two people. We don't dare say we can get them to study Buddhism or take refuge for long, but at least for the time being when you're on the bus. If you have a copy of the Ksitigarbha Sutra in your hand, while riding the bus, you can ask, "What's your name? Would you like to take a look at the Ksitigarbha Sutra?" First, offer them something to eat or to drink. Make them really happy, and then, of course, among the 4 means of embracing, start with giving, then use kind words. Then, little by little, you can gradually give them more. This is also a truly great merit indeed, isn't it? This is one aspect of it. If you can come with sincere faith and truly show respect and take refuge in Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, or pay homage, make prostrations and offer praise, as well as offer flowers, incense, clothing, various precious items, and food, to make offerings, serve, and attend to Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Earlier, it was just about someone with wrong views, briefly taking refuge. Here, with a very sincere and deeply respectful heart, just like how Larungar faithfully holds the Ksitigarbha Dharma Assembly every single year, all kinds of elaborate offerings and beautiful flowers are presented, and sometimes the generous fruit offerings are even impressively taller than the revered and magnificent statue of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. This truly demonstrates a profound and heartfelt devoutness. They have such great faith in Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, because when making food offerings to Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, the food offerings are even higher than the Buddha statue. The Ksitigarbha statue is about this tall, and the fruit behind it is piled up like a mountain. So what kind of great merit does this bring? For hundreds of thousands of millions of kalpas in the future, one will constantly experience the happiness of heavenly beings. If, after exhausting the blessings of the heavenly realm, one is reborn as a human, then for hundreds of thousands of kalpas one will eventually become a powerful king. And as for the kings of our earthly world, they too shall experience this cycle. They are able to recall their past lives, to remember the causes and effects, the origins and outcomes, and so on. All of this is possible. So when we perform such meritorious deeds, it truly is very meaningful. I mentioned this some time ago, didn't I? In the past, I never understood why there is a Ksitigarbha Dharma Assembly, but not an Avalokiteshvara Dharma Assembly, nor a Manjushra Dharma Assembly. We talk about the Dharma Assemblies of Ksitigarbha and Samantabhadra. Why is this the case? But later I realized that Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva is also very important for sentient beings in this degenerate age, because Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva has already vowed to liberate sentient beings in the age of the Dharma's decline. And now, when widespread famine and various devastating global wars currently arise, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva is extremely important. Also, our desires as sentient beings are very strong. We need this, we need that. That wish-fulfilling jewel, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva can fulfill all the wishes of sentient beings. This aspect is also very important. That's why we pray to Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, recite the name of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, and chant the long mantra of Ksitigarbha from the 10-wheel Sutra of Ksitigarbha. I actually couldn't recite it back when His Holiness was still alive, but some of our Dharma friends here are actually quite good at reciting it. That Chimbo, Chimbo, Chim Chimbo. I only really know Chimpo, I just can't recite the rest at all. The other day I asked another Kenpo about it, and he said he couldn't recite it either. So the merit from this is truly immense. In that 10-wheel sutra of Ksitigarbha, the merit is indeed tremendous and immeasurable. The Buddha, the enlightened one, told concentration mastery King Bodhisattva that Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva possesses inconceivable miraculous power and greatly benefits sentient beings. All you bodhisattvas should remember this sutra, remember this profound Ksitigarbha Sutra, and widely propagate it to all. It should be widely promoted throughout the entire world. So, after carefully reading these significant passages in Chinese, I realized they weren't in Tibetan, so I translated them. I don't know if anyone will read it. I really don't know. Perhaps someone will indeed do so in the future, or perhaps they will not. As for the Tibetan version, even though there are not a great many Tibetans listening here, it is still profoundly and absolutely necessary to disseminate it widely and extensively, I firmly believe. So whether it's in Han region or in many other places with a wide variety of different versions, including various editions such as English, Japanese, and indeed all kinds of different and diverse editions of the revered Ksitigarbha Sutra, it is truly and profoundly necessary to actively promote and disseminate them. Here we will proceed step by step. We are also utilizing different languages and actively spreading it in various diverse and numerous ways. This is extremely necessary and truly important. Moreover, some Dharma friends have also taken the initiative to make lecture notes, which is also very good. But if you are making lecture notes, timeliness is very important on the one hand, and being quick is also very important. But on the other hand, in certain places, it's best to have a Dharma teacher review it again. That's very good. I've seen, for example, in the 10-wheel sutra of Ksitigarbha, the character for 10 there is not the time from Kala Chakra. So in some places, due to time constraints, there might be some really significant differences when you are making your lecture notes. Of course, it's fine for different people to make different lecture notes. Some parts are not obvious here, but are obvious there. But when making lecture notes, don't be too brief. If it's too brief, for example, if we want to quote a case study or cite a scriptural proof, there are some crucial words before and after it. If all of those are omitted, then when only the scriptural proof appears, it feels very abrupt and strange. A scriptural proof suddenly appears, or a relevant case study suddenly appears, and if there's no clear connection before and after, it can be quite difficult. So I would suggest that summarizing the overall meaning is still rather challenging. If you really do need to do it, basically you should consider these points. Of course, I've seen some lecture notes that are quite clever too. For example, when names and such are hard to hear clearly, they use more vague language to describe them. Something like so-and-so, maybe that's also acceptable. But it's even best to be a little bit more detailed, more so, because written texts are still widely circulated. Is there any written text? Actually, having written text is very good. Some people, maybe my way of speaking, including my lecture notes, sometimes the way I speak, some people might understand, but others might not. But when it comes to written text, most people can understand it. It's necessary to translate it into other languages. This is also of great importance. When adapting to some local customs and traditions and using their native language, you might find it necessary to adjust the way things are expressed and communicated. These adjustments are not only often necessary for effective interaction, but are sometimes required for cultural respect and understanding. So, on the surface, it may initially seem like I'm just among so few people, but in reality, we are also slowly spreading and propagating it widely. It should be carefully done, step by step, very slowly and deliberately, in various ways for different sentient beings. They really need it, even if it's just a few dozen people. When I first started, it was more than 30 years ago, a long time ago, when I was teaching inside the Samyestupa. At that particular time, there were only a very small number of people in the Chinese-speaking audience. Sometimes there were 7 or 8 people, sometimes 6 or 7 people, but I never gave up and have worked hard all the way to today. So when we promote the true Dharma in different ways, sometimes all the favorable conditions are present, and sometimes all the adverse conditions are present. But no matter what, Westerners especially like to talk about not giving up, being strong and working hard. Every president's speech, every university president's speech, they consistently emphasize these important values. At these times, they always encourage students not to give up. At first I wondered why they kept talking about not giving up, but now looking back, it's true that everyone in their life, whether it's promoting their values or doing anything else, not giving up is still very important. So, starting right now with the Ksitigarbha Sutra, every single Dharma friend, when the auspicious conditions are truly right in the future, will be able to engage with this teaching, should engage in the activity of widely spreading the Ksitigarbha Sutra, sacred sutra. This is truly very beneficial for countless suffering sentient beings. Next it says that the concentration mastery king, Bodhisattva, addressed the Buddha, world-honored one, venerable one. Please do not worry about this. We, the countless millions of great bodhisattvas, rely on the Tathagata's awesome spiritual power. We will certainly and widely propagate these sacred scriptures, ensuring their profound teachings every corner. The sentient beings residing throughout Jambudvapa will receive immense and lasting spiritual benefit from these invaluable teachings. So, here, at that particular time, the concentration mastery king Bodhisattva, together with countless thousands upon thousands of other great bodhisattvas, all made solemn vows relying entirely on the Buddha's profound blessings. Indeed, to widely spread this Dharma practice for the sentient beings of the world. It is most important that we benefit sentient beings with the true Dharma. Moreover, using the Ksitigarbha Sutra to benefit sentient beings is also very important. Just as it is said in the Mahasamnipata Sutra, for those who are blind and lost on the spiritual path, you bodhisattvas should open their eyes of authentic Dharma. For sentient beings who are confused and have lost the right path, what's the precious thing that we should bestow upon them? We should grant them the truly profound wisdom eye of the true Dharma. In this way, these sentient beings will temporarily be freed from suffering and gain happiness, ultimately attain perfect enlightenment. Therefore, at that time, he said that all of us bodhisattvas also truly rely on the Buddha's profound blessings to make our aspirations. In propagating this sutra, the Buddha need not worry. We too can make aspirations, just like Concentration Mastery King did, whether in the rest of our lives from now on, or even in life after life. Therefore, we should also widely propagate and extensively spread the profound Ksitigarbha teachings. In this significant way, we will surely benefit countless sentient beings throughout the world. After the Concentration Mastery King Bodhisattva addressed the world-honored one, he put his palms together, bowed, and withdrew. Because up to this point, the entire origin of this chapter was initiated by the Concentration Mastery King Bodhisattva. Now that it is finished, his task has been completed. He then began to take his leave. After he left, at this moment, the 4 great heavenly kings, hailing from the east, south, west, and north, most respectfully stood up from their respective honored seats, reverently put their palms together, and then solemnly addressed the Buddha, saying, "World-honored one, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, since countless eons ago, has made such great vows. You explained this to us. He is different from others by such vast vows. And for an inconceivably long time, over countless eons, from the beginning up to now, his vow-making, measured by Ganges river sands, is incomprehensible. Many would be overwhelmed. He has made vows for such a long time, and such great vows, benefiting all beings in the three realms, vows to save all beings in the evil destinies. Then why is it that even up to now, he still has not finished saving all these beings? Why does he still need to make even greater vows? What is the reason for this? We sincerely hope the World-Honored One will explain this to us. We hope, World-Honored One, that you can tell us about this. We know that the vows he made are so great and for such a long time. Yet he still continues to make vows even now. Back when I became a monk and returned home, I would read books at night by the oil lamp. I had an uncle who was quite deeply attached to wrong views. Then, around precisely midnight, he would get up again to check on me. "You're still not sleeping, you're still studying. Go to sleep. Please go to sleep now. Do not disturb our peaceful rest." He was truly and deeply annoyed with me for not having completed my studies and still being awake. He was my father's older brother, so I called him uncle, right? Sometimes because he went to bed very early. After sleeping, he would wake up in the middle of the night, and when he saw me still reading, he would get very annoyed. "Weren't you reading before as well? And now you're still reading? This just never ends with you." He was really dissatisfied. So even the four heavenly kings were a bit dissatisfied. They said, "Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva has already made such a long-standing vow, such a great vow, and now wants to make an even greater one. What exactly does this profound statement truly mean?" The Buddha, with his characteristic wisdom, did not criticize them directly. He simply said, with a warm and encouraging tone, "That's a very good question. Excellent, truly excellent. Indeed, a very good inquiry. The question you've raised today is wonderful." He said, "For you four heavenly kings, as well as for sentient beings of the future, and for the celestial beings and humans of the present, for your benefit I will speak about how Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva in the Saha world. Within the vast and intricate cycle of birth and death in Jambudvapa, he uses a profoundly compassionate heart to truly rescue and save all sentient beings who are suffering from their various misdeeds, and what skillful means he ultimately relies upon to deliver sentient beings in these matters. I can give you a brief, concise explanation. You asked this question very, very well. So sometimes, if a question is asked truly well, those individuals who are indeed truly wise will also give excellent, thoughtful, and profound answers. But if nothing meaningful is asked, then nothing meaningful is answered, then both sides may be in a rather ignorant state. Asking questions is important, just like the four heavenly kings asking questions. Even the Buddha was delighted, saying, "Excellent, excellent." So sometimes as Dharma teachers, including some Dharma friends who study and contemplate, we should really open up our minds. Sometimes, for example, when giving a talk in a particular setting, you can truly and very clearly tell quite easily from the expressions of the audience, indeed, that these people are so smart and full of wisdom. There is often a profound gleam of wisdom in their eyes, which is very sharp and deeply penetrating. I have personally been to many, many different schools, but the only truly unique one in that particular school located in Jerusalem, when I looked, I thought, wow, these students, I don't know, I just had a feeling that the questions they would ask must be really impressive. They all had this insight. In some of our vocational schools in the mainland, at first everyone dresses really quite well. There was one particular school where everyone was dressed like professional flight attendants indeed, and it was quite a sight to behold, all very neat and uniform. But after a while, row after row started to fall asleep. And then the speaker couldn't even continue the lecture. If only the students were like those in Israel, each one especially wise and intelligent. Actually, a person's wisdom can sometimes be seen in their expression. You can readily notice and truly pick up on certain subtle things. So I thoughtfully considered, why did the Buddha appear to be so profoundly joyful at that particular time? It must have been because the four heavenly kings asked truly insightful and excellent questions. Their sincere inquiries were so compelling that the World-Honored One felt a strong inclination to impart this profound teaching. Then, when the four heavenly kings respectfully spoke, they declared, "Indeed, World-Honored One, we are deeply desirous to hear and are exceptionally eager to listen." They said, "Indeed, World-Honored One, whatever you teach, we are especially eager to listen and very interested in what you have to share with us. We are truly looking forward to your insightful teaching you will impart. We are eagerly and patiently awaiting your comprehensive and thoughtful answer." At that time, they were truly willing and wanted to listen. The Buddha then responded to the questions from the four heavenly kings. The Buddha told the four heavenly kings that Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, from countless eons ago up to today, has been liberating sentient beings, and indeed his vows have not yet been fulfilled. Because he vowed not to become a Buddha until the hells are empty, so his vow is still not complete. Moreover, he truly acts out of deep, great compassion, showing truly great mercy to sentient beings in the world who are greatly tormented by the suffering of their own sins. He also contemplates the future of all suffering sentient beings, because if their karma and afflictions are not cut off, they will continue endlessly, one after another. If ignorance and afflictions are not ended, the creation of karma will not cease. If ignorance is not ended, karma will not end. If karma is not ended, afflictions won't end. If afflictions aren't ended, the suffering of birth and death in samsara will never end. Therefore, this cycle continues without interruption. His habitual tendencies keep influencing him, causing him to remain in the samsara. Because of this reason, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva continually makes even greater vows. He makes vow after vow again and again. It's just like some of us who initially want to build a school and then subsequently want to construct a temple as well. The more they accomplish, the bigger and more expansive their aspirations become, whether they are truly great virtuous ones from home or abroad, or indeed people with very great aspirations. They keep doing more and more things. So Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, his vows are not yet complete. If his vows are not yet complete, then he continues to make vows without end, perpetually. This is the primary reason. Such a bodhisattva in this Saha world, in Jambudvapa, uses hundreds of thousands of millions of skillful means to teach and transform sentient beings. This is very important. Ksitigarbha possesses hundreds of thousands of millions of different and various skillful methods. In fact, these skillful means are not what we refer to as definitive or non-definitive teachings, nor are they just some skillful means to guide sentient beings. It's not like that either. He truly addresses the key point. For example, in front of sentient beings who love killing, he speaks about the karmic consequences of killing. In front of those who are attached to sexual misconduct, he talks about the karmic results of sexual misconduct. So, for different sentient beings, the bodhisattva must teach truly different dharma methods indeed. And he must speak in a way that truly reaches deep into their hearts. So whether it is monastics diligently propagating the sacred Dharma or lay practitioners actively spreading the profound Dharma, I think the most fundamental thing is what the other person wants to hear. This is very important. And also the other person's afflictions and habitual tendencies, these are very important. If you don't have this, if you haven't understood the other person's capacity at all, and you just talk about our Madhyamaka Prasangika school just teaches this, or the difference between the Prasangika and Svatantrika schools is such and such. You just keep going like that, thinking that this is really very liberating, just like that. Some Dharma teachers don't even look at all at what the sentient beings' expressions are like. Whether they like it or not, they simply don't pay close attention to anything at all. Truly, some very traditional old Khenpos. Even when they go to the West, they don't look at what the situation is like at all. They just simply come up and read, and after reading, they then leave. But in this case, it's just a tradition. This might be the way some teachers do things, but if you do it this way, it's very hard to benefit sentient beings. You really have to know what the people below you truly like or actually prefer. For example, I think maybe among us here, in the future, some will go to the West to spread the Dharma. This will most certainly happen. But when it actually does occur, you, without a doubt, shouldn't use Eastern ways of thinking and concepts. Some of our Eastern jokes, if you tell them in the Western world, no one will pay any attention to you at all. At first, we didn't have any experience and wondered, why aren't they really laughing at all? But later on, it seemed like everything was completely different. Things that we find funny here, they don't find really funny at all. So you might have heard as well, perhaps also in one of His Holiness's previous talks, there was a point that we didn't find funny at all, but they just kept on laughing. Ha ha ha, they found it truly amusing. What's the reason for this? Maybe it's because sentient beings' capacities, including their afflictions, their habits, many of them are quite different, in fact. So when it comes to spreading the Dharma, it's even more so. But in our everyday conversations, or when we discuss values, every place nurtures its people. Local water and soil nurture local people. This is indeed true, and culture is the same way. A particular culture also shapes the people of that place. At such times, it's very important to adapt to and understand others. This is extremely important. As for Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, he skillfully uses various means to teach and liberate all sentient beings. How exactly does he teach them? Next, perhaps there's quite a lot. I'm not sure whether we can finish this part all today. The Buddha told the four heavenly kings, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva is like this. If he encounters beings who truly love to kill, especially those individuals who are particularly fond of taking lives, what exactly does he teach them? He speaks extensively about the severe karmic retribution of killing. If you kill, you will suffer the severe retribution of a very short life in future existences. You will experience misfortune and short lifespans life after life. You won't live for very long. He talks a great deal about this kind of karmic result. So Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva uses different methods for sentient beings. It should be different approaches, right? Even now, many people still kill living beings. This has happened in the past too, but perhaps it's even more serious and prevalent now. In Buddhist scriptures, for example, in the revered Shastra of the Bodhisattva Bhumi, it clearly says, not harming sentient beings, having no intention to harm, this is called the cause of longevity. What is the cause of long life? It is not harming sentient beings, and also not having a mind to harm. This is the true cause of longevity. But now, people are truly doing the exact opposite. They are killing sentient living beings, all in the name of the pursuit of health and wellness. Eating this, eating that, drinking this and that. This is also a very frightening and concerning thing. Why is it like this exactly? Because if our own life is destroyed, then it's impossible for the other party to be happy either. So in the treatise on the great perfection of wisdom, it also says, among all treasures, human life is the most precious. People acquire wealth for their life, but do not sacrifice their life for wealth. I've used this quote before in my teachings on the words of my perfect teacher, among everything in this world. What is the most precious? The most precious thing is life itself. And this is not just true for us. We humans are willing to give up all our wealth for the sake of life, but it's impossible to give up life for the sake of wealth, right? Of course, there are some individuals who work desperately hard, true workaholics who completely disregard their own personal lives, all for the sake of making money. There are a few like that. But to truly seek wealth at the cost of one's life, there are probably none. And in this world, all sentient beings above the level of ants all cherish their own lives. So if we were to truly and completely trample on the most precious, the most valuable lives of others, then the retribution we receive is a shortened lifespan. That's why sometimes we are weak and sickly, very weak, frequently ill. This could be due to actions in this life or in past lives, past existences, earlier incarnations. Some patients say, I have done a lot of good deeds in this life, so why am I so ill? Actually, I often think this way. If I am sick, it must be due to actions from a previous life. In this life, I haven't really killed much. Perhaps I might have accidentally stepped on and killed something, that's possible. But generally speaking, I do have some merit and good fortune. Since childhood, I haven't really killed many living beings. Perhaps some of you here, before you truly had faith, did indeed consume quite a substantial amount as well. You killed living beings alive, like shrimp, fish, turtles. Maybe it was similar to the mother of bright eyes. Did you? Or maybe not. This is something we should truly repent for. That's precisely why Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, with his profound wisdom, spoke to these suffering beings in this particular way. He carefully explained to those who were driven to become thieves the profound suffering of poverty and the intricate reasons behind it. To those individuals who engaged in acts of stealing or outright robbery, he addressed them directly and personally. If you act like this, you can never be wealthy or find happiness. In fact, this is simply the law of cause and effect. If you give something to others, you will receive something yourself. For example, if you rob someone and take all their wealth, then in the future, you yourself will also have nothing. You will end up penniless. This is how it will be. If you trample on others' lives and happiness, then you will also experience such retribution yourself. The law of cause and effect is that whatever you give to others, you will also receive yourself. If you ever encounter someone who engages in sexual misconduct, what exactly should you tell them? Now, among the animals, especially among the birds, such as sparrows, pigeons, mandarin ducks, and so on, these are the karmic results for such beings. In our Han Chinese culture, mandarin ducks are generally seen as a symbol or metaphor for love. But that's just a popular saying. We don't really know if that's true. According to folk beliefs, a pair of mandarin ducks consists of a male and a female. If one dies, the other cannot survive. It is said that the surviving one vow to die as well. That's precisely why it carries this kind of significant symbolic meaning. But in actual reality, they are simply just a type of bird. In the foreseeable future, because they are inherently very greedy creatures, in the usual depiction of the 6 realms of samsara, the snake represents hatred, the pig often typically represents ignorance, deep ignorance, and the birds typically represent greed. So, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva talks about the karmic retribution of mandarin ducks to those individuals who commit sexual misconduct. If you encounter someone who uses harsh speech, you should tell them about the retribution of constant conflict among family and companions. If someone often speaks harshly, then in life after life, their family, relatives, and friends will always be fighting and arguing. This is their karmic result. If you encounter someone who slanders the Dharma, then what is their retribution? It could be that they are born without a tongue, which is especially pitiable. Or as we clearly see now, some individuals unfortunately get tongue cancer or oral cancer. Their entire mouth becomes severely ulcerated, which is truly and deeply pitiable. Or their whole mouth is completely covered in painful sores, which is especially pitiful. These are the dire consequences of such unfortunate actions. If you encounter someone who is filled with hatred, what exactly will become of this living being? They will inevitably become ugly, weak, disabled, or severely deformed, terribly deformed, like those who are handicapped in such ways. If one truly harbors a very intense hatred, in Introduction to the Middle Way, it says, "Wrath disfigures face and form and leads to evil states. It robs the mind of judgment to distinguish good from ill." If one's hatred is very severe and deeply ingrained, then lifetime after lifetime, their physical appearance will be quite unattractive, and they will inevitably attract many unwholesome and truly negative things into their life. What is the most fundamental consequence? The wisdom to distinguish between what is reasonable and what is not will be completely taken away, because under the influence of hatred, one truly has absolutely no ability to control oneself at all. So, first and foremost, people who harbor deep-seated hatred, in this context will become ugly people lifetime after lifetime, become deformed or physically weak individuals. And also, perhaps the things that they do at that particular time may also be extremely and utterly unreasonable, because the wisdom to truly distinguish between reason and unreason has already been completely taken away by hatred. So indeed, hatred is truly a profoundly terrifying and destructive emotion. For this very significant reason, some sacred sutras emphatically state that those with hatred in their hearts will ultimately be reborn as scorpions or poisonous snakes. And when they become animals, they are also poisonous to others, because everything that comes from hatred is poisonous. This is truly terrifying indeed. If one happens to be stingy or miserly in nature, then when encountering such people with this affliction, what would Ksitigarbha say? They will receive the retribution of having their wishes go unfulfilled. The things they desire, none of them will come true as they wish. For those who are stingy, they may have many desires, but what they wish for and what they actually get are completely at odds with each other. Some of us are indeed always unable to get what we want, yet we keep wanting more. For example, we can't find a job no matter how hard we try, nor can we find a place to volunteer or serve. Actively serve. We can't get into a class we're satisfied with either, completely satisfied. We can't find a satisfactory house. Basically, nothing works out, really succeeds. Even in relationships, people can't find a suitable partner, compatible partner. They can't find a school or job that satisfies them either. There are so many people nowadays who suffer from unfulfilled desires. Actually, all of this is because when we had some wealth in the past, we neither made offerings nor gave to others. Among these, I remember there are 23 kinds of karmic retribution mentioned. At first glance, these were skillful means Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva to benefit sentient beings. In reality, we need to look at ourselves. Do I harbor anger in my heart? If I do have anger, then how should I counteract it? Do I have a stingy heart? How do I effectively overcome this particular stinginess? In fact, it's truly very important to thoughtfully address our own personal afflictions in this specific way. I myself have come to realize this as well. But sometimes dealing with our personal afflictions isn't always that simple. Still, there are indeed effective ways to do it. As Buddhists, after seeing these principles, I think you all understand them in terms of the words themselves. Especially since this is in Chinese. When it comes to Chinese, you are all many times more proficient than I am. You should know this. Understanding the words isn't enough. We need to understand their content. After understanding, we must practice it ourselves. Can we change ourselves and overcome our own faults? This is very important. Otherwise, there are many who understand the words very well, including some current experts and scientists. I often read about some very experts in physics and cosmology experts. They basically know these particular things. They understand the laws governing phenomena, especially scientists in the field of microphysics. They fully understand that all phenomena are actually like dreams and illusions, not truly existent. But is this of any use? It is of no use to them all. Why useless? Because what they focus on is not overcoming afflictions. For example, when the Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths, the most important is to get rid of samsara. The purpose is to counteract our greed, anger, and ignorance. So in practice, if you only understand things theoretically, will it have any effect on you? It won't. Even if you are in a Buddhist institute and have studied all 5 great treatises and received all the highest awards, if you don't apply the principles from these teachings to your own mind stream, then theory is just theory and a person is just a person. Kadampa Master said, there's much distance between Dharma and people, a horse could fit between them. This saying to refer to a horse in the past, but now we could even say a whole car could easily fit, right? A person is a person and the Dharma is the Dharma. But if we take every bit of what we've learned, for example, here, what happens if you have anger? What rebirth will slandering the Dharma lead to in the future? If we reflect on these principles one by one, what is the difference between us and scientists? Scientists only really understand. And once they understand, that's it. They think that's enough. I believe that scientists are fully aware of these theories. They completely know them. Sometimes even the principle that all phenomena are created by the mind, they also understand. They know that in reality, all phenomena truly do not exist inherently. But this is of no real practical use. Just like a skilled magician who skillfully conjures up a woman, he still develops afflictions and creates karma because of her. It's the same principle. We take all these teachings on cause and effect and bit by bit reflect on them in our own practice. The very foundation of diligent practice is to target our attachment to self and our afflictions. If we practice in this way, then our cultivation is truly, really meaningful indeed. Even within a short period of time, we will see progress in ourselves. I truly and sincerely hope that after listening, for example, to the revered Ksitigarbha Sutra, indeed, we can address the afflictions in our own lives, make at least some change, some reduction in our afflictions. We won't create negative karma. We won't have to continue wander in samsara. Otherwise, if our study and contemplation remain only theoretical, sometimes if our theory is too strong, it seems just like academic research in the secular world. It doesn't really benefit our own mind stream. Theory is just theory, and a person is just a person. There's no real connection between the two. If that's the case, then when we die, it will be just like the death of a scientist. Look at Albert Einstein and those brilliant people. Their contributions to humanity were truly immense and indeed quite incredible. But when it comes to facing their own birth, aging, sickness and death, they might not even compare to a particularly simple-minded old practitioner. In the end, how did they enter the next life? Everyone should be fully aware of this important point as well. So what truly makes us quite different from many other places is that we specifically focus on why Buddhism doesn't extensively talk about a lot of modern knowledge. Actually, the reason is that what Buddhism mainly addresses is self-clinging. Eliminating self-clinging is the most fundamental thing. This is very important. As for many other things, Buddhism is not like some other religions. So what exactly is Buddhism like? It is a very inclusive and welcoming religion, you could certainly say. Moreover, for many profound principles about the future that Buddhism hasn't explicitly explained or fully detailed, they have already been subtly hinted at implicitly within its teachings. I quoted this particular point the other day, didn't I, during our previous discussion? It's from the Samyukta Agama Sutra. That scriptural proof is also found in the auto-commentary to the Entering the Middle Way. The world argues with me, but I do not argue with the world. What the world truly acknowledges, I also acknowledge. What the world indeed does not acknowledge, I also do not acknowledge. Actually, this is a very profound and quite insightful teaching. The Buddha had already realized this, whether it's past and future lives or the universe and world, as long as the world acknowledges it, I acknowledge it. As Buddhists, we can say this. As long as you truly recognize and genuinely accept it, Buddhism can also readily accept it. No matter what diverse theories and perspectives exist in the world today, we inherently possess a very broad and truly inclusive mindset. So at times like this, sometimes we may not necessarily always actually in fact truly explain every theory in detail and with complete clarity. As long as we truly grasp the fundamental points, we possess this kind of profound Buddhist attitude, I genuinely believe. It's truly just as Albert Einstein famously said, any religion that can truly advance side by side with science, contemporary science, the only one is Buddhism, authentic Buddhism. I have mentioned this before in my book on Buddhist science, earlier work, written work. So in this regard, everyone can reflect on it as well. Otherwise, when it comes to these causes and effects, if we make no progress at all in our own mind stream, then no matter how much we study or how many classes we attend, in the end, it doesn't have much meaning. If regarding certain principles within it, I truly think maybe I have a sharp tongue, I'm really harsh when I scold people. That's not right. I can't be like this in the future. Otherwise, in life after life, my relationships with those around me will be disharmonious. I'm prone to slander. Otherwise, in my next life, I might not have a tongue. My tongue, how truly terrifying, my tongue should be firmly nailed down. Just like some unfortunate people in Africa, or some Native Americans now today. Their tongues and lips are all elaborately decorated with all sorts of fascinating things, with intricate iron rings. My own tongue, my mouth are truly not good-looking enough, so I really should consider putting a sturdy iron wire ring on my tongue just like them. Sometimes we really need to observe ourselves. The law of karma is truly terrifying. I originally wanted to finish this section, but maybe today it's still a bit too much, somewhat lengthy. I'm worried that some Dharma friends are habitually entering meditation, silent meditation. If it affects your meditation, focused meditation, that's not good. So let's stop here for now. The retribution for miserliness, let's end here today.
Sonandai Tansa Prabhaya Tonani Jana Pasi Kirgana Jirano Chupai Chupun Sonen Dravadvaja
Bandarangara Badna Asadarda Bandarangara Badna Asadarda Bandarangara Badna Asadarda